Sex education is one of the most controversial issues in education and has been hovering over educational institutions for decades. It is one of the most debated topics in education and will always be divided by opinions. Try though everyone may, it is almost impossible to shrug off the responsibility of informing students about its importance. Issues like teen pregnancy and STDs arise due to unsafe sex, and one of the best ways to avoid it is by educating students about it. We will now discuss some of the pros and cons of sex education in school. Most of us limit the scope of sex education by taking it as a value. It is not just about sex. It involves other delicate issues like sexual health, sexual reproduction, sexuality, and other issues that parents often feel awkward discussing with their children. Hence, it becomes the responsibility of the duty of schools to take up this topic and inform and educate students about it as much as they can. However, this is almost never taken in the right spirit by parents and students themselves. They begin deliberating the pros and cons of sex education in schools and form an attitude towards it based on what they think is right. We will now consider some of these arguments so that we can decide for ourselves.
Statistics shows that more than 50% of the American teenagers lose their virginity by the age of 17. Statistics also shows that the sex education in school is accepted by only 7% of the American parents. The other 93% still consider it a taboo to discuss sex with their children and resort to making up every popular stories of birds and bees. But do they stop for a moment and think that it is not the presence of sex education in school, but it is absence that has made the rate of teen pregnancy go up to such a high level? Most schools that do provide sex education have an abstinence. It is the best. Most schools that do provide sex education have an abstinence in the best solution approach. To stress abstinence as the way to be free from any problem related to sex and sexuality, which actually makes sense. We all believe that prevention is better than cure, so why not just wait for the right age to engage in sexual activity? The two most important things that you need to be sexual active, named the mind and the body, are not fully mature when kids are in school. It puts them at risk physically and psychologically. Hence, stressing the importance of resting and abstinence through sex education in a great advance.
Schools that abuse the abstinence approach prefer to go the safe-sex way. They have accepted the fact that sexual activities of teenagers and even preteens cannot be controlled by a mere class taken in school. They know the students have other resources thanks to the various forms and forms in the information available today. So, schools would rather give them tips on how to manage the safe sex. By using appropriate birth control measures if they are sexually active, than approaching abstinence. They train them in using different methods of birth control and also dangers of teenager pregnancy. It's only through education in school that students will get proper and honest information about sexually transmitted disease, the grave dangers that this disease poses to them, the physical and mental torture that they may have to through if they fell prey to an STD, not to mention the social stigma associated with them, and will explain. This is instilled in the students a sense of responsibility that comes out of the sphere, their health and life. As a result, they behave more responsibly.
Though the pros may seem like very valid reasons to vouch for sex education in school, there are some people who believe that sex is better left to be understood by teenagers themselves, if at all, or worse, through unreliable sources. Hence, They strongly oppose the idea of sex education in schools. Let us discuss some of the arguments against it now. It is often seen that sex education is not taken seriously. Students tend to look at it as a subject of ridicule, and professionalizing of sex in schools has reached such a level that teens will engage in sex just to prove how cool and popular they can be. There's little that sex education can do for them, and it is not just for students but the faculty too. If they really want to take education about sex to a new level of understanding and importance, they should have more than the customary classes that they do. They hire people who are trained and well-informed to teach the students about it. The sensationalizing of sex in schools has reached such a level that teens will engage in sex just to prove how cool and popular they can be. There's little that sex education can do for them, and it's not just for students but the faculty too. If they really want to take education about sex to a new level of understanding and importance, then they should have more than the customary classes that they do, and hire people who are trained and well-informed to teach the students about it.
Many people believe that when it comes to sex education, the cons outweighs the pros for one simple reason. They believe beyond a doubt that their children should not be exposed in something as crude as sex in the school days, because their religion does not permit it. It becomes very difficult to argue with people when they bring religion to the forefront, and so many schools prefer to leave this sensitive issue untouched. As opposed to abstinency-only education, when schools propagate safe sex, they run the risk of having their information misinterpreted by the students. We will all agree that we can listen to hours and hours of lecturing about any topic, but finally we do exactly what we want. Unfortunately, it is the same with sex education. Curiosity can make some students take foolish steps which they may regret later. In conclusion, the possibility of consensus on the debate about whether or not sex education in school is acceptable will take a while to happen. Until then, all we can do is hope that the children realize their responsibilities toward their bodies and toward their minds.